In 1590, a ship arrived at an English colony in America. More than 100 men, women, and children had been living there. But when the sailors stepped ashore, the settlement was silent, completely empty. The houses had been taken apart, the people were gone. There was no sign of a battle, no bodies, no graves, nothing. The only clue was a single word, carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. This is the mystery of the lost colony of Roanoke, and more than 400 years later, we still don't know for certain where they went. The year is 1587. England desperately wants a foothold in the New World to rival the mighty Spanish Empire. So they send settlers across the Atlantic to a small island called Roanoke, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. Leading them is a man named John White, an artist by trade, and now the governor of this fragile new colony. But there is a bad omen waiting for them. An earlier group had tried to settle this exact spot 2 years before. That attempt had collapsed into conflict with the local tribes and been abandoned. When White's group arrives, they find the old fort empty and a single set of human bones. Still, they push on. White has brought families this time, including his own daughter, who was heavily pregnant, and soon after they land, she gives birth. The baby is named Virginia Dare, the first English child ever born in the Americas, a symbol of a hopeful new beginning. At first, there is hope. They repair the homes, they plant crops, they try to build a life on this strange and difficult shore, but the old wounds have not healed. Relations with the surrounding tribes are tense and quickly turn violent. One colonist is killed while out catching crabs. And supplies begin to run dangerously low. Within just weeks, the colony is in serious trouble. They simply do not have enough supplies to survive the coming winter. So the colonists beg Governor White to do the one thing he does not want to do, to sail all the way back to England and return with more supplies and more people. White agrees reluctantly. It means leaving behind everyone he loves, his daughter and his newborn granddaughter Virginia. He promises them he will be back as soon as he possibly can. He has no idea just how impossible that promise is about to become. Before he sails, the colonists agree on a plan with him. A simple code in case they ever have to move. If they leave Roanoke, they will carve the name of their destination into a tree or a post. And crucially, if they are ever forced to leave in danger or distress, they will carve a cross above the name. A cross means trouble, no cross means they left safely in their own time. Remember that. It becomes the key to the entire mystery. White reaches England, but he sails straight into a catastrophe. The country is at war with Spain. The legendary Spanish Armada is preparing to invade, and Queen Elizabeth orders that every single seaworthy ship must stay to defend England. That means there are no ships for John White. None. He is trapped, thousands of miles from his family, and completely powerless to reach them. Weeks turn into months. Months turn into years. White pleads and schemes and waits, growing more frantic with every passing season. He even manages to hire 2 small ships at one point, but their greedy captains go hunting for treasure instead, get into a fight, and are forced to limp back to England without ever reaching Roanoke. In the end, it takes John White 3 long, agonizing years to finally get a ship back across that ocean. In August 1590, on what happened to be his granddaughter's 3rd birthday, White finally lands back on Roanoke. And he finds nothing. The colony is completely deserted. The buildings have been carefully dismantled, not burned or smashed. It looks less like an attack and more like a planned departure. There is no sign of his daughter, no sign of little Virginia, no trace at all of the 115 people he had left behind 3 years earlier. And then, at the entrance to the settlement, he sees it, carved carefully into a wooden post, that single, haunting word, Croatoan, and on a nearby tree, just 3 letters, C-R-O, as if someone had begun carving the same word and been interrupted. But here's the detail that gave White a sudden, desperate flicker of hope. He searched everywhere, and there was no cross, no distress symbol carved anywhere on that post or that tree. By the colonists' own agreed code, that could mean only one thing. They had not been driven out by an attack. They had left calmly and on purpose for a place called Croatoan. And Croatoan was a real, known place. It was a nearby island, about 50 miles to the south, and home to a friendly local tribe of the very same name. So suddenly, the answer seemed within reach. The colonists must have gone to live with the friendly Croatoan people. All White had to do was sail that short distance and find his family. But the sea, as it always does in these stories, had other plans. Just as they prepared to sail for Croatoan Island, a vicious storm came howling in. It battered White's ship, snapped an anchor cable, and nearly wrecked them on the shore. The terrified crew had had enough. Low on supplies and fearing for their lives, they flatly refused to risk sailing any further. They turned the ship around and set course back across the Atlantic to England. John White was agonizingly close. Just a few miles of open water separated him from possibly finding his daughter and his granddaughter alive. He never got that chance. Old and broke, he was never able to fund another voyage. He died years later in England, never knowing what became of the family he was forced to leave behind. So, what actually happened to those 115 lost colonists? For centuries, the theories have run absolutely wild. Theory 1. They were wiped out, massacred by a hostile local tribe, or perhaps by Spanish soldiers who had marched up from their colonies in the south. It's certainly possible, but if that's true, then where were the bodies? Where was any sign at all of a battle, or a fire, or a struggle? Theory 2. The classic. Ghosts. Over the centuries, Roanoke became a haunted legend, complete with phantom settlers and a spectral white deer said to be the spirit of Virginia Dare. And Theory 3. Yes, naturally, aliens abducted the entire colony, because at this point in a mystery video, it would honestly feel wrong not to at least mention them. There was even a series of carved stones discovered in the 1930s, supposedly written by Virginia Dare's mother, telling the colony's tragic fate. Sadly, they were almost certainly an elaborate hoax, a reminder that a good mystery always attracts liars as well as dreamers. But strip away the ghosts, the aliens, and the hoaxes, and the most likely answer was probably carved into that wooden post all along. The simplest explanation is this. The colonists, starving and abandoned and out of options, did exactly what their own message said they would. They left Roanoke and went to live with the friendly Croatoan people on the nearby island. They didn't vanish into thin air. They very likely survived in the only way they could, by joining and gradually blending into a local community that actually knew how to live on that harsh and unfamiliar land. And here's the genuinely fascinating part. In the years and decades that followed, explorers and later colonists reported meeting Native Americans in that region who had gray eyes, who lived in European-style houses, and who told stories of ancestors that could, quote, talk from a book. If even some of those reports are true, then the lost colony was never truly lost at all. Its people simply became part of a new, blended people, and their descendants may well have walked that coast for generations, and possibly still do today. And even now, in the modern day, archaeologists are still searching for the final truth, carefully digging up the old sites, hunting for any physical trace the colonists left behind. And they have found some tantalizing clues, fragments of English pottery, and pieces of European tools, buried at sites far away from the original Roanoke fort. Some of these discoveries hint that the colonists may not have stayed together at all. They may have split into smaller groups and scattered to more than one location across the region. But to this day, no one has ever found the final, undeniable proof. No mass grave, no perfectly preserved lost village, no single artifact with a name on it that settles the question forever. The clues all seem to point gently toward survival, but the complete story is still out there, buried somewhere along that quiet coastline. The lost colony of Roanoke isn't really a story of monsters, or ghosts, or strange lights in the sky. It is most likely the story of ordinary, desperate people, abandoned by history through no fault of their own, who made an incredibly hard choice in order to survive, and walked quietly into a new life, leaving behind only a single carved word. Not lost, just changed. Absorbed into a story that we are only now, centuries later, beginning to piece back together. And that quiet, hopeful possibility, that they lived and their children lived, is a far more beautiful ending than any ghost story could ever be. If a real, unsolved mystery is your kind of thing, then you are in exactly the right place. Next time. A single set of footprints, high on a frozen mountain, walking out into the snow, and then suddenly stopping, with nowhere left for them to go. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.